Now it's time to take a look at some non-god, non-flippy MDFC commanders from Kaldheim. What is up, Commander players? My name is Matt and you're watching Top Commander. So, finally about to get into some regular, normal, non-god, non-flippy commanders from Kaldheim. I gotta be honest, it's been that was just a little weird for me personally, and I'm pretty sure there's gotta be some people out there that are not okay with the flip side of commanders now being, you know, artifacts and enchantments and stuff, and now that those are in the command zone, just you know somebody out there is not liking the idea. But for the most part, I felt like they were pretty cool because they weren't terribly busted. Of course, Valky flipping into Tybalt, that apparently is being very much abused in other formats. Not in Commander yet. We haven't seen anything really crazy in Commander just yet. But as far as I believe it was Modern and Legacy, or it was one of those formats. I believe Modern, Legacy, or Vintage. A couple of those have been apparently having issues with Tybalt, the backside of Valky, which is kind of weird considering that the original Tybalt was the butt of every joke back when he first came out. But everybody loved his story, so we finally get a playable Tybalt, and apparently it's too playable. Not sure what to take on that. But I'm not here to talk about those formats. I'm here to talk about the Kaldheim set review for the rest of the commanders that do not flip. So, before we get into it, if you wish to support this channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as always. And if you wish to support this channel directly, be sure to visit patreon.com/topcommander. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right into it with Sigrid God Favored. 1 and 2 white for a 2/2 legendary creature, human warrior with flash, first strike, and protection from god creatures. When Sigrid enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target attacking or blocking creature until Sigrid leaves the battlefield. Okay, so this is a combat trick. I don't see why you would want this in your command zone, because the whole point of a combat trick is it's a trick. Your opponent's not supposed to see it coming. But if this sits in your command zone, I'm not okay with this one. This one's not that great. However, to be completely honest, I believe that this is more of maybe a draft or possibly standard, just meta dependent kind of a card. Not sure how the set's going to do in standard, but definitely a draft pick because of the gods in this set and everything. Beyond that, very mid. You could run it in the 99 as a removal spell, but we have so many better removal spells. But at the same time, this is white, and white needs all the help they could get, so having removal on a creature wouldn't be a bad idea. Next up, Inga Rune Eyes. 3 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, human wizard. When Inga enters the battlefield, scry 3. When Inga dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn. Okay, so ETB scry 3, if you're flickering that, you could potentially do some, you know, you get some good value out of that, but at the same time, I'd rather just play a Mole Drifter or even a Cloud Blazer, because both of those just ETB draw 2. This one lets you scry 3, so it doesn't have evasion, so I don't really see the use in this in like a Yuriko the Tiger Shadow deck. The death trigger, good lord, there's so much going on with that. So you can draw 3 cards. When this card dies, if 3 or more creatures died this turn. That's a lot. So, I'm not a huge fan of this. I mean, it is an uncommon commander, so that would kind of explain it a little bit. You could probably get a little tricky with the ETB Scry 3. There was that Sphinx commander from Commander Legends that says whenever you would scry, you can draw that many cards instead. So ETB for 4 mana, draw 3 cards with him on the field. That seems pretty cool. But beyond that, I'm not feeling this card. This is very Next up, Orvar, the All-Form. 3 generic and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature shapeshifter. He has Changeling, which means he is all creature types at all times. At the same time. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets 1 or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. When a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that's a copy of target permanent. So the cool thing is I could see the second part of this actually coming into play sometimes. It depends on if somebody uses a wheel. So Windfall, Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Misfortune, anything like that. So yeah, and then there's a lot of discard your opponent's hand style decks that are coming up lately. So I can see the second part playing in quite often. The first part of this, however, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets 1 or more other permanents you control, create a token copy of one of those permanents. Okay, so any combat trick that you target your own creature, you automatically get a copy of that creature. Anything that lets you target, like Twiddle, there's a bunch of cards, especially in blue, there's a bunch of cards that just single target tap or untap permanents. And typically it's creatures, artifacts, and lands. So now you can target your lands with this, get copies of those lands, so you're ramping probably more effectively than green at that point if you can pull it off right. You could do the same thing with some of your artifacts. Getting copies of a Gilded Lotus or something would be insane. I actually did watch a Playing with Power MTG video where they played this card and they were using a buyback spell to constantly target a Coveted Jewel, which is a 6 mana. It's basically a Gilded Lotus that ETBs draws 3 cards for 6 mana. However, it does have a weird downside where, and I believe if it's in combat damage, you have to give the Coveted Jewel to your opponent, and then they draw 3 cards. Or something like that. I know it was insane. It's one of those ones that it looks cool, it looks splashy, but nobody hardly plays it unless there's a reason to. But yeah, so you're now able to make copies of lands, make copies of all your creatures, your artifacts, and if your opponent makes you discard this out of your hand, I mean, I really like this guy for a mythic slot too. The fact that you can copy permanent, not non-land permanent, that's really cool. So blue with this guy, he can effectively ramp pretty well because you just target your own lands. I like this idea, but this guy seems really cool. His artwork is a little creepy. I mean, he's still cool though. But moving on, Vargoth, Blood Sky Sire. 2 and a black for a 2/3 legendary creature, Demon Rogue. He has Death Touch and he has Boast. Boast, for 1 and a black, target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. Activate this ability only if this creature attack this turn, and only once each turn. So you swing with this guy, you activate the Boast, and then you can automatically tutor. I like this card very much so. a, a just in general tutor, a tutor effect that just lets you find whatever you want, but on attack. I feel like we were kind of getting close to this, especially after, when Sidisi and a couple others, you would tutor on ETB. Now we're getting a tutor on attack, which is really, really cool. Now, the boast mechanic, of course, you could only use it once each turn. You have to attack with the creature, which is why, there's some downside to it. But it is on attack, so you can go, I declare attacks. Before we move to any other phase, because he is now officially attacked, you can automatically boast and get the tutor effect. So you don't have to wait till combat damage, you don't have to wait till blockers or anything like that. So, in other words, there's not really that opportunity for him to die before you get to use it, which is really neat, and very helpful too. But, you can still get the tutor effect off, and he can still die. He's only a 2/3 with Death Touch, but that's the cool thing. I do like the fact that he has the Death Touch, because that means that he's going to be... People are going to have to determine whether or not they want to block this. I think it's correct if you block this thing and are able to kill it as many times or as soon as possible, because of the fact that it's a constant tutor effect. Think about that one. Do you want your opponent to tutor every turn? Let them get the one tutor, swing in, okay, you block, kill it, move on. Unless it's a commander, because this is a legendary creature. So, as far as this being in the command zone, that's a really good question. A tutor in the command zone, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this one. He's 3 mana for a 2/3, I mean... I would have to see a deck be built around him for him to determine how I feel about him in the command zone. I feel like this could be very much abused and out of hand. Just the fact that he is giving you a tutor effect every time, so something to just kind of keep in mind maybe. Arnie Broken Brow, 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature. He has haste and boast. His boast costs only 1, no color, just 1. You may change Arnie Broken Brow's base power to 1 plus the greatest power among other creatures you control until end of turn. I'm not sure how I feel about that. That one's a very weird kind of effect, so I don't really see that being useful in the command zone. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this in the command zone. In the 99, though, I'm pretty sure there's a way to get that working. Grevin Predator Captain. He gets plus X plus O, where X is the amount of life you've lost. So, the cool thing about Grevin is, whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, you draw cards equal to that creature's power, and lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So, if you use Arnie with Grevin on the field, Arnie would become a 6/3 for 3 mana, with his boast effect. And if you're sacrificing him to Grevin, you're now drawing 6 cards and losing 3 life, because Grevin himself is a 5/5. So, I mean, it could go in that realm of, in the 99, of like a Grevin Predator Captain. As far as in the command zone, this is very, very underwhelming. However, if anybody makes this work in the command zone, please let me know. I want to see this, just because I'm completely stumped on how to build this one. Magda, Brazen Outlaw, 1 and a red for a 2/1 legendary creature, Dwarf Berserker. Other dwarves get +1/+0. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. Sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This can get out of hand. So, of course, this is coming out after the Game Nights episode, which I have already watched. Jimmy's deck was wow. I was really wondering how this dwarf tribal treasure synergy deck was going to run. And if you haven't watched that Game Nights episode, you definitely need to watch that one. That game was really awesome. The way that the different commanders were just really neat. A couple of them were a little bit outclassed, but that typically happens at least once in their games, every once in a while. But yeah, Magda Brazen Outlaw was just. It seems like it's one of those commanders that takes a minute to get it going. But if you can get enough cheap dwarves on the field fast enough, then you can get off to the races pretty effectively. So yeah, I do like Magda. Magda is really, for a dwarf tribal deck, it seems pretty good. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. But again, this is also how you play it and how you build it. Next up, Finn, the Fangbearer, 1 and a green for a 1/3 legendary human warrior. He has Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So, I'm not exactly... This card is very mid to me. Apparently, it's been causing a lot of... there's been a couple of people that have been hating this card in, like, Standard. I don't know if it's in any other formats. But this Death Touch Infect Tribal thing going on, I have no clue about that. However, considering that my girlfriend's green-black deck, which is the Falthus Shadowcat Familiar what's the other one? Anara Wolvid Familiar. Jeez, sorry, I was trying to think of them. We built that as a weird Menace, Death Touch, Indestructible Commanders with an Elf Ball theme in there, and there's a lot of Death Touch going on in that deck. So we might take Finn and stick it in there as just a weird alt win condition, potentially. But yeah, this just seems like fun. It is an uncommon commander. Him in the command zone, is there really enough good, decent creatures with Death Touch and mono green to make this deck? Otherwise, I feel like Finn is just in the 99 of some Death Touch tribal thing. Like in a Jund deck of some sort. Next up, Toski, Bearer of Secrets, the first legendary squirrel without the silver border. 3 generic and a green for a 1/1 legendary squirrel, cannot be countered, has indestructible, attacks each combat, and whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you can draw a card. Okay. He's got some cute art. It's an indestructible squirrel, as they said on Game Nights, which was great. I love that line. I feel like Toski's just one of those ones that it's an easy build around for newer players, which don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I don't like him because he's an easy build or whatever. I feel like we need a certain amount of these kinds of commanders coming out in each set. Those commanders that when they come out, you just look at them and be like, oh yeah, this is easy, how to build this one. You want that for some newer players because Commander is a growing format. So the fact that it's very easy to see that Toski wants you to go wide, build a token theme kind of deck. The fact that he's indestructible and has to attack each turn, you could find some weird ways to either untap him to keep him or give him vigilance of some sort, or even Voltron the squirrel which will be funny. I want to see an actual, just straight up Voltron build of Toski. But yeah, Toski just seems neat, very simple, very easy to build around, which is something that you want for a number of cards in a set for newer players. Next up, Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. I was really, really sad that this was the only Praetor that showed up on Kaldheim. I'm not sure where the lore came in with how Vorinclex shows up, but the rest haven't. But yeah. 4 generic and 2 green for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Predator, a Praetor. For a 6/6 trample haste, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. And the second part is not doubling season. If an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, then put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. Whew. Okay. So he's doing what Vorinclex does. Even the old Vorinclex, it very much so what Vorinclex does. So the old one would double your mana and then effectively half your opponent's mana because they couldn't untap them on the next turn. They had to wait till the following turn. This one is doubling your counters and then halving your opponent's counters. And it's on a 6/6 trampling haste body. So it's a half of doubling season with some downside for your opponents. So with the fact that it does just care about counters, Super Friends builds will definitely run this. Because the loyalty counters will double up, same as if you have a doubling season on the field. That's pretty much all she wrote, right? I mean, I'm not sure of any other things. I mean, you could try to take advantage of some, poison and infect on your opponents and double up the poison counters, because it does say double up those counters. But, I mean, other than that, it just seems like Vorinclex is back. I'm really curious as to why we only got Vorinclex, although we did get in this, this Vorinclex does have the altered version where they have everything written in Phyrexian scripture on the card, and the only one before that that had that particular writing across the card was Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. So the fact that we got a Vorinclex doing that, hopefully we get all the Praetors doing that, because I wouldn't mind seeing a Shield Druid and a Jin-Kataxis like that. Even though some of the Praetors are just very, very mean. So just discuss with your playgroup about some of them before you use them on the battlefield. Alright, next up. Agar the Freezing Flame. 1, a blue and a red for a giant wizard. For a 3/3, whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage. If a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card. Okay, so this is basically talking about the excess damage thing, basically back to what when we looked at the Thor of the set. I forgot his name already, but so the excess damage, right? So your opponent has a 1/1. You hit it with a lightning bolt for 3 damage. It kills the 1/1 because and it has 2 damage left over. So now, because it was because now it's excess damage. Yes. Right? I'm trying to think of how this one works. But it is a draw engine for excess damage if you make it work somehow. The way that this is worded, I don't like the way the wording is on the Freezing Flame. So I will skip that for now. The fact that it's an uncommon means that it's going to be very hard to deal excess damage to a creature, planeswalker, and opponent controls. Um, yeah, I don't like the way they worded that one. That one's very touchy. So it's probably something that you're going to have to look up the rules interaction on how this, or the Oracle or something, because this wording looks a little messy in my opinion. All right, next up, Furia, Judge of Valor, two a white and a blue. Wait, two generic, a white, and two black. For a 2/4 flying lifelink, Angel Cleric. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. So we have a very similar effect of this. It is a blue-black fairy. I forget what the name of it was, but if I remember it, I will probably have it on the screen here. But yeah, so it cares about your second spell each turn, which you're in black and white. You're not doing that very often. Now, if you were in blue, now we're cooking. But the other one doesn't even care about, the other card that I'm thinking of doesn't even care about your second spell each turn. It's the first spell you cast on each turn. Now, when it says that, it includes your opponent's turn. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, it's also 5 mana for a 2/4 flying lifelinker. If they found a way to drop this down by like just make it two a white and a black, I would have been okay with this. It feels like it costs a little bit more than what it should. And the fact that it cares about the second spell instead of the first spell seems like a bit of just a hassle and a jump around. Herald, King of Skimfar, 1 a black and a green for a 3/2 legendary elf warrior with menace. When Herald enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you're playing a black-green elf ball deck that the commander ETBs lets you look at the top 6 and basically search through the top 6 of your deck for whatever. Alright. However, do I like this better in the command zone or in the 99? That's a very good question. I feel like there are better options for the command zone. This is just kind of but definitely a card that would go in the 99 because I could draw you into more stuff. It has menace. It's a black-green little legendary elf that can help you out. So more of it in the 99 than in the command zone. Carter. Doom Scourge, 2 a black and a red for a 4/3 legendary demon berserker. When he enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures your opponent's control can't attack. Your opponent's control attack each combat if able, and attack a player other than you if able. Whenever an attacking creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's goading your opponent's creatures, but it is a standard legal set, so I guess that they didn't want to say goad on a set, on, standard cards. But this is very much of a standard kind of build. So yeah, goading your opponent's stuff. That is something that Rakdos could potentially be doing. I feel like they've got better strategies. You could do it as the Jund build with that. Have this in the 99 of that Thantis the War Weaver, where it forces your opponents to attack. But yeah, I mean, this just seems really fun. He only does that trick on ETB, so if you have some way to do kind of a graveyard shenanigan where you ETB, and then if you can either find a way to flicker him but you're in Jund, so you're probably just going to sack him and then reanimate him. Let's be honest. Because there's not a whole lot of flicker options in Jund. So I would just go with like a reanimator where you just sack him, bring him back, ETB, everybody's stuff is goated, and then every time their stuff is attacking, they're losing life and you're gaining life because of this guy. I feel like this would be just a fun deck to build, but I don't know if there's enough pieces for the deck to work properly. This whole control everybody's combat step, just, it seems like a neat idea, but I feel like we need a few more pieces for it. Next up, Cole, the Forge Master, a red and a white for a 2/2 Dwarf Warrior. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Okay, so I don't want to talk too much about this one, but this one is very combo-tastic. Basically, a lot of people have already talked about this, so basically you're just taking a 0-drop creature like Rogue Rock, an Ornithopter, or something, and you find a way to get the equipment onto something for free. Or you could even just use Lightning Greaves. So Lightning Greaves, you just equip for free onto Rogrok. He now has a base power. He now gets +1/+1. Or no, he doesn't get +1/+1 because he's not a token. Okay, so Cole just lets him, you just put the Lightning Greaves on him with Cole on the battlefield, and then a sack outlet like Goblin Bombardment. Altar of Dementia. So now when you sacrifice him because he was equipped, Cole says, hey, you're going to go back to the hand. Then you cast this 0-drop creature for free and equip him for free. Yes, very combo-tastic. Infinite shenanigans. I'm not too thrilled on cards like that. I feel like that was just kind of poor planning when it came to that. But, I mean, it is Boros. Boros does have a lot of problems, so the fact that Boros gets any kind of help like that, I'm okay with. Alright. How many we got here? Oh, Jesus. We still got a few left. Alright, so we gotta try to speed this up a little bit. So, Koma, the Cosmos Serpent, 7 mana. Legendary Serpent. Can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, make a 3/3. You can sack one of those 3/3s, tap target permanent, its abilities can't be activated, or Koma gains indestructible, and it's a 6/6. So, what do we think? It would be really good in the command zone. You're just ramping super hard, and then just about every card in your deck is either making more tokens, copies of Koma, which is possible, or protecting Koma, and you're just kind of flooding the board with these 3/3s. We've seen this on game nights. It's no big surprise. Maja Bredegard Protector. 2 a green and 2 white for a 2/3 legendary creature human warrior. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, so it's an anthem. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 human warrior creature token. So, landfall creature tokens. We've seen this before. Retreat to Emeria, Felidar Retreat, and Zendikar's Royal are landfall triggers that create tokens. I will probably put this in my Chulane Teller of Tales deck, which is a landfall token build, so just seeing how that one works out. But yeah, definitely cool. As far as in the command zone, I don't know if I prefer this one or the god Karametra. Kind of a toss-up. Anywho. Alright. Morit of the Frost. 2 green, blue for a 0/0 snow creature has changeling. You may have Morit of the Frost enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's a legendary and snow. Except it's legendary and snow, in addition to its other types, and if it's a creature, it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+2/+1 +1 counters on it and has Changeling. So it's a clone. For 5 mana though. See, if the clone's going to cost 5 mana, I feel like it should do something other than turn it into Legendary Snow with +1/+1. This one's not very thrilling to me. Most good clones are 4 mana or less, so moving on. Narfi, Betrayer King. 3, a blue and a black for a 4/3 legendary snow creature zombie wizard. Other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. Return Narfi from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped by paying 3 snow mana. I can imagine if you go out of your way to build a infinite snow mana machine, you can do some crazy stuff with him. I'm pretty sure you just play him in the deck anyways. Just a zombie tribal deck, and you're running all snowlands. So, yeah, I mean, this just seems neat. He's an anthem for the snow permanents and for zombies. And he can bring himself back. Yeah, I have no problem with this one. This one just seems kind of okay. Next up, Seraph, Realm Eater, 1, a black and a green for a legendary creature Wolf for a 3/3. Every content creator out there that I have seen do reviews for this card, I have not seen one of you mention who this is. His name is Fenrir. He is the wolf from Norse mythology that basically starts Ragnarok. I should know. Alright. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Seraph Realm Eater at the beginning of your upkeep. If Seraph has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove all of them. If you do, exile each other non-land permanent with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. So a lot of edict effects, you're basically just going to keep board wiping somehow. However, it is each other non-land permanent, including yours. So I would say that you could try to do some shenanigans with some sack outlets, grave pact, and stuff like that. But if he does get rid of your stuff too, that's going to make things a little bit more difficult. And the fact that it's exiling stuff. So this can be a very odd commander. However, I do feel like if you build it correctly, it will take forever because you're constantly wiping the board on people. Alright, next up, Svella, Ice Shaper, 1, a red and a green for a legendary snow creature, Troll Warrior, 2/4, 3 mana, tap it, create a colorless snow artifact named Icy Manalith with tap, add 1 mana of any color. 6, a red and a green, tap it, look at the top 4 cards of your library, you may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Okay, so here's the play pattern. You play out Svella, you start making these Icy Manaliths, you get to a point where you have 8 mana, and then you just tap 8 mana, look at the top 4, and you're constantly paying 0 for the top, whatever the best top card of the top 4 is. The part that makes it more balanced and more fair, in my opinion, is the fact that you have to tap Svella to use it. So this would just be a really fun deck. Would just not be as great as you think, especially for CEDH. Vega the Watcher, however, this could be a CEDH thing. I'm not sure. 1, a white and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature. Bird Spirit has flying. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. Boy, okay, so how Vega is letting you cast out of the top 4, you would draw a card. Jumpstart, Flashback, yeah, there's so many mechanics that let you just cast stuff from other places. Cascade. I believe, I'm not sure if Madness would work. I think Madness, you cast it from the graveyard because you have to discard it first. So I believe Madness would also trigger it. correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but Jumpstart, good. Rebound, even good. Yeah, so there's so many different ways to abuse that. So Vega the Watcher, now, do you put it in the command zone? I feel like this is in the 99 of some other deck. I don't feel like Vega is that great in the command zone. Because especially if you build the... Yeah, because there's just so much going on with that one. So, yeah, that one I'm not too thrilled on. But that is the last of the commanders for this set. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do a full breakdown of all the cards for the 99. I'm probably just going to go and do a couple of top picks, like some top 5 picks or something like that, depending on what I see. But yeah, I'm currently playing catch up. I've been having some technical difficulties here at the house with trying to get the recordings and get them uploaded and everything. Plus, my brother's birthday was this past weekend. Well, we celebrated it this past weekend. It was actually last week, but, that's just how it goes sometimes. But, yeah. So, what do you guys think about the non-MDFC commanders? Is there any that you really, really like? Anything that just really sticks out to you? What are you going to be building? What's going to be going in the 99 for sure? I gotta be honest, in my opinion, I really like Orvar. I have seen the Playing with Power video where they used Orvar and it did some really crazy stuff. I'm not 100% sure on how that's... that was just a crazy deck watching that one play. Probably not going to build it quite like that, but I could see some like mono blue combat tricks going on. That would just be fun. So, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Also, on that one, the red-blue giant wizard, if anybody knows how that one works, how they're dealing with excess damage, just throw it down in the comments below so other people can see it if you have not, if anybody else doesn't know yet. I'm going to have to look into that myself and do the research to figure out how that works, because that wording on that one card was just absurdly just a mess. Because I could not figure out what I was actually reading for a second. But, so far, what do you guys think about Kaldheim? Do you like the set? Do you like the Celtic borders at least? Because, boy, those Celtic borders are amazing in my opinion. I love the artwork from this set. But yeah, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, and I will see you guys next video.